Welcome everyone on Ukraine World News. This is the Interview Without Borders project. My name is Dmitro Pustovit, and our guest for today is Ilgvars Klyava, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Latvia. Greetings.
Hello. Доброго дня.
How you been doing, sir?
Very well. Very well. Cannot complain.
So the first question, a bit general, but I wanted to ask you about it. So how does Latvia assess the state of its diplomatic relations with Ukraine today?
Well, I think we have excellent bilateral relations, excellent diplomatic relations. We have very good contacts between our governments, between our diplomatic services, between our branch sectoral ministries. So very good cooperation.
Okay. And what are the main goals and priorities of Latvia in the development of cooperation with Ukraine?
Well, of course, the main goals are being set by the situation in which Ukraine finds itself now, and it's a war situation. It's a war effort, and we have to help Ukraine to win this war, and that dictates basically all the priorities. So it's very much military cooperation, it's very much humanitarian assistance, it's very much involvement of Latvia in reconstruction effort of Ukraine already now.
Yeah, we'll talk about the future relations and of course about military relations, because this is one of the most interesting parts, especially after we become a part of NATO and European Union, but a bit later. How does Latvia determine the importance of supporting Ukraine in the context of modern geopolitical challenges?
Well, you know, this understanding is quite clear in Latvia that this is the war of aggression. This is the war of conquest. It's imperialistic war started by Russia, and it has to be stopped. Otherwise, we are risking the situation that the whole European continent will find itself in one great war if it's not stopped here, if we do not draw the line. So this is kind of how we see it in geopolitical context. But of course, Latvian nation also has a historic memory, and of course it's absolutely black and white. We absolutely understand what Russia is aiming at in Ukraine and trying to restore the empire, and we understand it very well. So you don't need to convince us who is the guilty party here and who is the victim and who is defending its freedom and its country.
That's a good thing, that we don't need at least to convince you, because there are other countries in this world, and
that is understandable. It depends from geopolitical situation, historical memories, so to say, and basically the mood within the society. Yeah.
Generally, would you describe the world geopolitical situation tough?
It has changed. It has changed. It is more fragmented, definitely. It is the aggressiveness is there. Attempts to how to say to restore some sort of imperialistic past. One can see it clearly. Manifestations of that. It will fail, obviously, because it runs contrary to the progress of human society, contrary to historical development. But these guys, they continue to trying to do that. So yeah, it's a complex picture. It's not very peaceful. No, and there are additional problems which are ignited by many other factors, like I don't know, migration, climate change, the unequal economic development. Underdevelopment economically in some countries, no jobs, and people are pushing into other countries, crossing borders, and basically we have to deal with that, all of that. So it's a very complex picture.
Do you have the feeling that the farther people go in their history, the more problems they will achieve?
Well, one can deal, I'm a historian by education. One can deal with history, of course, leaving that to historians and creating preconditions for coming to some sort of compromise. But that's always two sides to tango, so to say. One cannot do it alone, one cannot achieve it alone. Every nation has its own issues in history and with its neighbors, but they can be solved, obviously. But there must be a political will and also assistance from historians to explain basically the context, the reasons, the causes, the consequences.
Yeah. As we were saying before, the Ukraine wants to become a part of European world, of Europe Union, and of course of NATO. So, what steps is Latvia taking to support Ukraine in its Euro-Atlantic integration? Well,
we can divide in two parts, probably European Union and NATO. And European Union, we assist very much in also the politically supporting Ukraine in the forum of in the meetings of European Union structures, but also we are providing practical assistance to businesses, to state structures, sharing knowledge, sharing our experience, what kind of procedures we were making when we entered the European Union or were preparing to enter the European Union. It's also sectoral help, like agriculture. It's also the legal structures, because you will have to consume, you will have to translate, you will have to implement the loads and loads of regulations of the European Union in order to stick together the economies of the single market, European single market, and Ukraine. And it's not easily done. It must be done. It can be done, but it's not easily done. It requires time and resources and knowledge, and we have the knowledge. All in all, of course, it's absolutely the right decision for Ukraine to go and to join the European Union, because I can speak on part of my country, because the membership in the European Union, it ensures the fastest economical, political development of our society, and it's the fastest route, basically how you develop as a modern society in a modern world.
So how did it change your country?
Well, very much so, in all sectors, basically. We learned to operate in a single market. Basically, we have single currency. It's ridiculous, but the foreign currency notion or word almost disappeared. We have only money. I mean, it's euro. I mean, yeah. This is not. It's technically speaking term currency, but it's money. I mean, people don't need to change anything. They go to Germany or stay in Latvia. It's the same money. So there is no problem with that. Yeah, it's a cooperation, because we mostly have market in the Eurozone. It's shortly before joining the European Union, we already had foreign trade, about 70% with European Union countries, you can imagine. So everything we produce, everything we sell, it's competitive. All the products are competitive in the market. Because we are so small country, we cannot survive without export. So export and competitiveness, basically with that comes also the higher and higher living standard in the country. But also sectoral, like agriculture. There are many issues about the agrarian sector, of course, and our land is much more poor in comparison with Ukrainian land, but still. It's a huge improvement in comparison with previous times. I mean, we produce grain, we produce agro products, and we export them, and in much bigger, higher volumes than it was done during the Soviet times. Actually, Soviet times was misery in the agricultural sector. The kolkhozy, it was a misery. But now everything is private, and private production is increasing year by year. The only thing which threatens that is climate change or some other issues related to. So yeah, it's a modernization of the whole country, absolutely. Infrastructure included also, which is very much also interest, I think, in case of Ukraine.
Sure.
And there we have for the future projects, I think, many things in common.
That's really inspiring.
Absolutely. And the second part is NATO, of course. NATO is a military structure. We fully understand and fully support the reasoning of Ukraine. So political will to join the NATO alliance. Absolutely, it's a military organization. It's defense alliance, so it's organized to defend their member countries. And Ukraine has tremendous military potential. Obviously, your army is the one which is fighting the war against Russia, but it's a real war. No NATO country has done that in the recent years. So you have experience, you have equipment. It's still coming in, and more, and you will have it more. And you will have training, and you have training. And Latvia is participating actually both in supplying weapons, supplying military things needed for Ukrainian armed forces since the very beginning of the war and a little bit before the beginning of the war. And the training of the soldiers also in Latvia. And they publicly, our Ministry of Defense has announced that we will do training for 3,000 Ukrainian soldiers per year. So that's our target at the moment.
So yeah, we talked about a little bit about weapons. Can you specify a bit?
Well, I would not like to go. Well, I can say that we delivered Stinger missiles shortly before the war started, basically the previous day, and I can be sure that they were put in good use in defending Kiev.
Okay, and what about military trainings? Any plans to do the military trainings with Ukraine or other countries of NATO?
Well, we are cooperating with other NATO countries, obviously, in projects, in training processes, because we don't have enough, probably, personnel for some specific professions, military professions. So, of course, we cooperate with other NATO countries, yeah, in that respect. Whether we do it in Ukraine, no, I cannot say that we are doing maneuvers here in Ukraine at the moment. But I think it makes little difference. I mean, we do it in Latvia, and the most important is the result, the quality of training, and that soldiers are prepared for the battlefield.
Do you feel safe as one of the NATO countries?
Yeah, obviously. Obviously, it's also a technical thing. I mean, technical support structure for NATO has AVAX. NATO has more resources in intelligence, in surveillance, in airspace management that we, as a separate country, small country, we don't have. So it's a collective effort. But absolutely truth is that the NATO is only as strong as every country contributes to NATO, and some of Western European countries were not contributing enough some years ago. Now everybody is awakened, so to say, by war in Ukraine, and everybody is trying to improve the military sector. We started it earlier. We also didn't achieve 2%, so to say, standard of defense spending before 2014, and then the events in Ukraine, they were like a wake-up call for us as well, yeah, because it changed the whole concept. Because we were kind of, I wouldn't say asleep, but basically the concept was that, okay, Europe, it's solved. I mean, there is no conflict on the European continent. Conflicts are elsewhere, somewhere, I don't know, in Africa, Asia, potentially, Middle East, and so we prepare expeditionary forces. We go together there in some sort of mission with other NATO countries. So, but it's elsewhere. So we have mobile forces ready to go, well prepared, well trained, small in size, and then suddenly, wow! It's a wake-up call. I mean, it's Crimea, it's Donbass, and it's Europe. It's on the European continent, and then we understand, no, it's not a finished business. I mean, there could be war in Europe, and we have to have territorial defense, serious one, and we have to modernize the whole system, the weapons, and so on, equipment. And that's the process, that's the constant process in a way, but this was a really very strong wake-up call.
I really want to believe that every country which is a part of NATO feels safe, but sometimes Russian missiles or drones, they appear about countries which are a part of NATO, like Romania. And the reaction of NATO, was it tough enough, or was it enough to ensure Russia that if this happens once again, the answer will be different and harder?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. First of all, who should answer that? Probably the ambassador of Romania,
sure,
I would say, yeah. But I would not comment about other countries, but definitely there must be a reaction.
On your side.
There must be a reaction on such incidents, and it must be carefully examined. Of course, collaterals also, I mean, can happen, but it's not a normal situation. Russians have to be reminded about that it's not a normal situation. And if the violation, for whatever reasons, takes place. We have one interesting example when the Russian aircraft dared to enter for, I don't know, minute or 2 minutes or a couple of minutes, the Turkish airspace, and we all saw what was left of him. So it's a kind of example, I mean, to show what happens, I mean, if they disregard totally borders of a NATO country. Because so we have all kinds of experiences there and examples, but the Turkish example was a healthy one, I think.
Sometimes we see the situation here in Ukraine like this, that Russia crossed some red lines.
Yeah, they check all the time.
And time to time,
yeah.
she moves farther that red lines from itself.
Yes and no, they have not moved any further. I mean, if we see it in realistic terms, they have not moved any further. But they are waging a war in Ukraine, obviously. That's reality.
Can we say that Russia, time to time, provoked NATO?
To a degree, I would agree. To a degree, yes. I mean, we are living in an age of provocations. Definitely, well, their illusion is that they are, or they think they are, but equal to the United States, which they are not. I mean, Russia is a regional power with very weak, or rather weak economy on a world scale, if you compare it to China or United States. Russia really doesn't matter. The advantage of Russians is the oil and gas, natural resources, and some other things. But all in all, the size of economy, the technical level of technical development, science, I think so many scientists have run away from Russia and relocated to, be it California or somewhere else, Germany or Israel. I think this is a great number of people have left Russia. So it's a loss, definitely, and no one else to blame but they themselves have created that situation. So yeah, I mean, they try to challenge, obviously, but they have no resources for I think serious challenges to present serious challenges to United States or NATO altogether.
Yeah, sounds like true. How does Latvia cooperate with Ukraine in matters of cybersecurity and information security?
Yes, we have a very developed sector actually on cybersecurity, and also technologically we produce hardware, we produce software. So both, yeah. I have had recently a couple of visits of IT sector here in Kiev, and also we have one 5G forum in Latvia, to which we bring Ukrainian representatives and business people to basically to promote the cooperation between our two sectors. But yes, we are strong, actually, equally as strong, if not stronger, than Estonians in this part.
About humanitarian part.
Right.
Yeah, does Latvia provide humanitarian aid to Ukraine?
Absolutely, yeah, the answer is yes.
About projects, what a project?
Well, projects on humanitarian side, this we have obviously, it's first of all, the humanitarian assistance comes in and it's governmental and non-governmental. High volumes, I would say. What concerns the projects, for instance, we have implemented several. One project was Ivano-Frankivsk, the rehabilitation center for women and children who have suffered under conditions of war, all kinds of suffering, all kinds of problems. So it's a rehabilitation. We plan to help to establish the second such shelter and center in Chernihiv Oblast. And then, of course, we very much, it can be related to humanitarian assistance. We also are engaged in rehabilitation of Ukrainian soldiers in Latvia. I would say about 200 soldiers have been through this rehabilitation process in Latvia, and we will continue this program. But there are other things. We are quite substantial sums, paying sums of money into international organizations and agencies of United Nations, but also financial institutions who are providing assistance to Ukraine in various fields.
About soldiers, these are injured soldiers,
right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Injured, how to say, who have lost
parts
limbs.
Of the body, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because we have lots of them, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah.
This is a big pain.
That's true, and it will require attention for years to come. Yeah, so it is.
How does Latvia cooperate with Ukraine in matters of energy security and gas supply?
Yeah, we have delivered some components for energy system after the last winters, so to say, Russian attacks. This cooperation goes on. There is interest from our energy companies to come into the market or to discuss the possibilities how they can come in the market technologically, but also in terms of trade, in terms of investments. So it's work in progress, I would say. Yeah.
What about Russian gas? Last year, Russia said that Europe will freeze without Russian gas, but now we see that it's not. Are you afraid? I mean, Latvia.
No, it's no, not afraid. We of course we were very much dependent from Russian gas, and in our case, we were good paying customers, so to say. There were no problems in previous years, like it was with your country, it was with Belarus, I guess. There were really issues. I mean, and disputes about the payment for gas and non-deliveries and so on and so on. We didn't experience anything like that. The only problem with us was that we were overcharged, as far as it appears, because you have monopolist, and monopolist sees very well that you don't have any alternative, and basically it keeps you on the edge, so to say. On the one side, you don't want to jump off. They supply everything and say, "Oh, that's fair business," but then they dictate the price, and we were in such a situation, and only very slowly, and after events in the occupation of Crimea and after conflict started, we started to look, so to say, for alternatives. But now there is no, under these conditions, there is no way back, obviously. Yeah, it just requires time. The whole world, actually, the whole Europe is learning to live without Russian resources in a way, or on a much limited scale, so to say, using Russian resources. It takes time. There is some transition time, but that's the price we all pay. Of course. I mean, there were increased heating bills last winter significantly in Latvia. There were increased gasoline for cars price tremendously, obviously, but we are dealing with that. And there are alternatives how to deal with it. Science provides alternatives. There's solar energy. There is bioenergy. There are all kinds of possibilities that requires investments, but it's doable. You can do it.
How do people of Latvia feel about increasing the payments of electricity?
Well, no one likes it, obviously. I mean, no one is cheering it and saying that's fine. No, of course not. But there is also the reason. The reasons must be properly explained. I mean, the question is whether you suffer in such way, but then you support the just cause, and you support that this imperialism and this military aggression is being stopped on other borders, or you basically go with it, and then one day the criminals will come to your house, to your doorstep. I mean, this simple choice.
The reason I was wondering, because Russian propaganda time to time say that Europe is tired of war in Ukraine, and people in Europe are tired. Does it look like true?
Well, it's all relative. I mean, no. Human nature, and in human nature, no one likes. I think no normal person likes war.
Sure.
Obviously, in that sense, of course, everyone wants for this to stop as soon as possible. But then comes the other factors come into picture. I mean, what kind of ending of the war? I mean, do you allow? Like, I don't know, Adolf Hitler moving ahead in Europe and capturing country after country, or you say no, it stops here and now and no further. So that's the political question. Yeah. But of course, everybody, you can say that everyone is tired of war. Of course, it's a normal human nature to be tired of war. No one likes seeing people dying around him. Of course not. But then what kind of peace? I mean, yeah. On peace with aggressor, peace with murderer.
One more thing about Russian resources I wanted to discuss, and Russian atomic energy. This is a huge problem, as for me, because sanctions don't work for Russian atomic energy, not yet, and it uses this energy as a weapon for sure.
Yeah, sure, as political instrument. I mean, all sorts of advantages in energy sector they were using.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when you were saying about the time that Europe and we need time
transition
to deal and time for
technically solving issue.
So, how do you think? How much time we need to make this transition from
the
Russian
Rosatom? It's difficult to say. It's difficult to say. The discussions are going on, and this issue is being raised in Brussels and discussed among the countries. It's not equal dependence, so to say. It differs from countries to countries. Yeah. Some countries have Russian technologies in nuclear power plants. Some don't have nuclear power plants at all. So yeah, I mean, it's a complex issue, but I cannot name you the exact date or time, how long it takes. But definitely, as a citizen, my preference also would be, I mean, to cut it off. I mean, the Rosatom, to cut it off. I mean, this is one additional source of income, one additional source of influence. If they behave like they behave, so there is no place in the European market for them. Okay. That would be my attitude as a citizen of Latvia.
What are the current challenges, or are there any current challenges and obstacles to the development of diplomatic relations between Latvia and Ukraine?
Basically, no. I would say there are no such challenges which cannot be overcome. I mean, I cannot even name or imagine at the moment. There are other challenges of economic nature, I mean, because they are dictated by a wartime situation in Ukraine. The functioning of financial system, the payment system, the capital transfers, which are limited for obvious reasons. Ukrainian National Bank has put the limits on that. So that kind of slows down if we talk about the businesses coming in Ukraine, establishing, building something, or some enterprise or some company, or opening up some business. So that's impediment, definitely. It has to be solved. But not diplomatic, not political reasons. No, I don't see any.
Okay, then are there any steps planned to increase the exchange of international students and cultural exchange between countries?
Yeah, we are trying, definitely. Yeah. The students, we are very famous. Latvia is very famous with attracting international students. Mostly it's medicine. I mean, we have top level studying university, medical university. But also engineering, mathematics, IT, all are valid. We have many students from Western Europe. We have many students from from the so to say global partners, global South countries, or other regions in the world, Asia, you name it, India. So we are very much open. With Ukraine is, of course, one issue is that the, of course, war situation limits also the ability for, at least for young guys, I mean, to leave country to go for studies. This is always some, how to say, some effort, I mean, to reach the positive result.
How was it before the war started, before the great invasion started?
Oh, I don't have precise numbers, but there were Ukrainian students, and we were providing also the programs, training programs for state institutions about European law, about European institutions, about the European Union, then assistance to small, medium-sized businesses, how to set up businesses, how to set up small companies. This comes also, how to say, organically from our own experience in the past, and when we entered the European market.
What about cultural, not cooperation, but studying each other? Are there any things in common between Latvia and Ukraine, or something different? Which
Definitely in science, there were, there were Latvian scientists also here, agricultural sector, and definitely there have been cultural exchanges, and there are many things translated in Latvian. Ukrainian classics, obviously. Now in the wartime, of course, this, first of all, well, I think this COVID period also stopped a lot, and then immediately, and then basically immediately it started the war, the full-scale war, and so it, for the time being, not really serious exchange of some sort of cultural, so to say, I don't know, theaters or concerts moving around. It's simply because of wartime situation. But I'm sure it will be renewed as soon as conditions will allow it.
Yeah, Ukraine wants to be a part of European cultural substance or cultural space to attend the festivals, the theater festivals.
Absolutely. Theater is very popular in Latvia. I'm a big fan of theater. Then, of course, music, all kinds of music, classical music, outdoor music festivals, we have plenty of them in Latvia, and we are proud, very proud of them. Choirs, all kinds of choirs, singing. Big singing fest in Latvia is happening periodically on a regular basis, so it's very popular. I was astonished, I mean, the big choir, several thousand of people from all over Latvia, they were singing Ukrainian national anthem actually at Song Festival in Latvia in summer. That was very impressive when you have something like 10,000 voices joining, or even more with the auditorium. It was very impressive. But I mean, this is this field, cultural exchanges, we are very close actually, and we have had also Ukrainian diaspora throughout Soviet times in Latvia, about 40,000-50,000 Ukrainians living in Latvia. And now, of course, additional people, because of war, displaced persons were coming in. But that means there are ties, relatives, friends, and so on. It was already functioning before this full-scale war started between our two countries.
I can only imagine how busy you are, but did you have chance to attend the theater, any theater in Kyiv?
Not yet.
Ukraine?
I sort of, kind of, it's also the marker I put. I said, well, I will enjoy it when the war is over. So this is kind of my personal kind of point.
Yeah, well, people do it here in Ukraine. They postpone life.
Yeah, there are many things which I want to do when the war will be over. Yeah. In Ukraine, obviously.
Me too.
I have never been to Crimea, but I will go one day.
I've been there once, and this is such a shame for me that I only once attended Crimea.
I hope I will visit it soon. Yeah.
We will, definitely. Latvia extended temporary protection for Ukrainians until the end of 2023.
Yeah, it will be extended, don't you worry. Yeah. I mean, there is no question about that. It's just how the government works, bureaucratic period, when the time comes, it is prolonged, actually. There is no worry about that. They receive all the social securities, and they are also, I mean, there are work permissions, and they can work if they want to, which is basically advisable, because otherwise person is sitting in the room with four walls and thinks only about the tragic events and war and so on. But if he is involved in some daily business, I mean, doing things, and I have seen companies where Ukrainians work, factories where they work, and really that's great that people can find a place, at least temporarily, to switch in and to do some job and to improve also their well-being. Yeah.
Do Ukrainians fit into European family as co-workers?
Why not? I mean, European family is very diverse, obviously. Yeah, obviously. I don't see any obstacles in that. I think very well they fit. They have been all the time. There have been interactions. Look at the history. I mean, of course, it's not a simple history, Polish-Ukrainian history, but it's a history, and no one puts in doubt that. I mean, or go back into history, I don't know, Viking times or whatever. I mean, it's a part of Europe, the trade routes, everything. It's there. I mean, it's this closure was, it came only with Soviet times, basically. Well, okay, the Tsarist Russia was also obsolete and not very progressive, least to say. But I mean, this closure also, when Latvia was cut off, it came only with Soviet occupation. Because we had, for instance, believe it or not, but from 1930s onwards, well, during the whole period of independence, we had not a high speed, but relatively speedy train connection with Berlin. You could step into a railway car in Riga and ride till Berlin or Paris. And that was considered to be normal. And you can buy newspapers from all over Europe in Riga easily, all kinds of different languages. And only when the Soviets came with the primitive system, so to say, they cut it all off. And because out of fear that, you know, they were so... That continues today. I mean, they try to isolate Russian people from outside world and telling that all the West is decadent and very bad, and only Russia is somehow spiritually lifted, which is absolutely nonsense if you look what they are doing in the real world.
Soviet Union definitely was one of the biggest evils of 20th century. Even they were part of World War II and sort of won the war, but what price they have to pay to win this war? And
the Second World War was won by coalition.
Yeah.
Not by Soviet Union. It was a
course.
coalition.
Of course.
Without American assistance, Lend-Lease, Soviet Union would have a very slim, very bad chances to withstand German advance.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask, in your opinion, on your side, did Soviet Union use their position as the winners of World War II?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Good, or in the right way?
No. They used their position in their own interests, obviously, for instance, the process of creating United Nations, we see that it's totally, completely ineffective UN Security Council because they can block anything. They have veto power, 1 of 5, and the Security Council was envisaged, the whole United Nations organization was envisaged for greater good, for making good things, and it is possible only when all the leading powers in Security Council are in agreement. But the Russians played it contrary, and there is no agreement, and on most of the issues, and therefore it's not effective organization.
Not anymore.
Well, it can do some niche jobs, obviously. I mean, deliver humanitarian assistance. Yeah. Deliver educational means, deliver help refugees, obviously, and, and health, health, vaccines or whatever, medical medical assistance.
But if it gets to the real war, it seems like it's
No,
useless.
they cannot stop the war. I mean, it's very naive to think that the UN can stop any war.
Yeah.
It's absolutely extremely naive.
And the last thing I wanted to ask you about, I understand that predictions are not always very welcome, but what are your predictions regarding Ukraine's accession to the European Union?
It will take years, definitely. But the one thing is clear-cut. We support very much Ukraine starting the, or European Union starting the accession negotiations with Ukraine at the end of this year. We must recognize it will take years. It will take several years. I cannot name how exact number of years, how long it will take, but it will take an effort and years because, as I said at the very beginning, you have to negotiate all the business things, all the regulations, all the legal things, how the single market will be functioning. The country of this size coming in, when Latvia joined the European Union, nobody noticed. 450 million or close to 500 million people, because several countries joined at once. Coming into 1.8 million or 2 million country coming into 500 million single market, nobody feels it. Yeah. So but Ukraine is a serious size of economy. It has an impact on the single market. So many things have to be negotiated. This economic side is most detailed, so to say, negotiations on how it will function together. Everything is solvable, everything is negotiable, but it takes time, simply. It takes time. Maybe somewhere will be needed some transition periods of adjustment and so on and so on. All in all, I think its potential is great, simply great. I mean, it will give additional boost, additional potential to European Union economy.
So the economy is going to be the toughest part?
Well, there is other, you know very well. It's about the legal system, justice, corruption. It has to be set in a proper way. I mean, the legal system must function because it helps also businesses and economic cooperation.
Okay, good to know. So, sir, I wanted to thank you for being here and for talking to me. And, of course, I want to say thank you from all people I know and all people from Ukraine to your country. We really appreciate what you do for us, and we will never forget. And when we meet again in the European Union, the Ukraine will be free and fully liberated from Russian aggression, and the world is going to be different. I truly
I'm
believe
absolutely
in that.
sure about that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, everybody, Ilgvars Klyava, the ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of the Republic of Latvia, was the guest of Interview Without Borders. Thank you.
Thank you. We run out of time so soon. Was it really? Yeah.